Good morning. This is the 60 Seconds to Serenity with me, Gregg Hammond, on Wednesday, November 22nd, 2017. I'm broadcasting from Washington, D.C. at the Guitar Castle. Good morning. 60 Seconds to Serenity with me, Gregg Hammond, in Washington, D.C., broadcasting from the Guitar Castle on Wednesday, November 22nd, 2017. In the 60 Seconds to Serenity, the goal here is for me to share these amazing tools that I've had the benefit of acquiring from many teachers. I see people tuning in from Canada and from New Zealand and from Kentucky and from Ireland. It's pretty cool that everybody can tune in from where you are for sharing some amazing tools. So the 60 Seconds to Serenity tools are these collection of teachings that I have had the benefit of gathering together and putting together to shift myself into a higher vibration. And by doing that, I have control of my day because I control the way that I respond to things in my environment. And also, it's about focus and about creating habits. Creating the habit of 60 Seconds to Serenity breathing. I demonstrate with my hands here what it's like when the waves come in and the waves go out on a nice sandy beach. And that's the way we focus our breath when we're doing our 60 Seconds to Serenity tool. And the idea is just in 1 minute's time, you can shift the way that your vibration is. And if you've seen something that was on social media, other news, or in conversation that was that's unsettling to your vibration, your response can be 60 Seconds to Serenity, where you focus your breath, you tie it together with some very positive affirmations, and I keep sharing some with you each day. Each time that I do this, I keep sharing new ones and showing you some of the ones that are repetition. And the key is that as I go through this, I'm demonstrating the habit. I'm demonstrating the habit of repetition and how that builds anything, basically, that you want. And if you want a tool of 60 Seconds to Serenity so you can respond to your day, throughout your day, maybe you are on hold trying to resolve something that you want to resolve, you can be using 60 Seconds to Serenity to create the vibration you want. Some people get on hold and then they waiting to talk to the cable provider. I don't have cable, so I haven't done that in a long time, but I remember that was one of those things. I call in and it just felt like I wasn't as important to them, and I realized that was what was starting to turn in my mind, is that their service was bad and that they didn't care about me and that my problem, but all these thoughts that I was going to demand service. And when I realized that by thinking all of those and getting myself charged up to react when they said whatever they said, they charged me double some month and charged me for stuff that I didn't use. What I realized is that if I charge myself up like that, usually the result was that that's exactly what happened. But if I shifted and I used a response technique, responding with a 60 Seconds to Serenity tool of calming my breath the way that we do, with that very calm in and out, just the way that many meditation teachers use in the beginning. They're helping you excuse me, focus on your breath, my breath, focus on your breath. If you're in their class, focus on my breath if it's me, right? They're having you do that because of how powerful that is as a tool. And that is the good news. And as I was saying also other times, the good news is that your life just got a whole lot easier. But these habits, we're creating habits for us to use the tools like this, so that when you get on the call with customer service and you're waiting for the service, that you are thinking about, I always have the happiest person working with me on the phone. I always have great results. And you're saying this over and over. This charges you, and you think about that, how that feels. It feels so good to always call in and get the absolute fastest and quickest and most reliable service from customer service, if that's who you're calling. But it could be that this is applied to anything. Going into a grocery store, going into a bank, going into anything, any place. Thinking about it like that. And if you're willing to take an honest look back at your life and think about situations that have happened, if you're able to take 100% responsibility and say, did I use something like the 60 Seconds to Serenity tool? Did I use my thinking process? Which way did it go? Did I get charged up and go negative? Or did I get going up positive from the way that I focused? Here's the card with the affirmations. I had this on here when we first started. I am healthy, I am happy, I am helpful. And then we added in, I live in paradise. Meaning that wherever you are, you're in paradise. And then I added in today, my memory is very good and my heart is always smiling. And so that smiling heart is very important. And then the reason I put my memory is very good is because I wanted to give you the example of people often say, like, oh, I have, they say, I don't even want to say my mind is saying, don't even verbalize and say that. But people say, oh, well, I have a terrible memory. Or they say, I'm, clumsy, or I lose everything. I can't, they say things like that just because, one, I think a lot of society trains you to think that you're being humble by doing that, and actually it's a really bad thing to do. You don't want to use a negative affirmation, and it's not like you're trying to affirm something. It's usually people are trying to be humble and casual, and that actually affects the way things work in your life. And you actually could track this in your life and see where that's been applied. Because if you say the same thing all the time, you might notice that that's true. It's become true. Maybe it's because you noticed it at one time and so you said it, and then you repeated it because you just wanted to say that, you want to be in that humble place. But the best place for you to be is in a positive vibration using tools of 60 Seconds to Serenity, and that is the breath and the affirmation. My heart is always smiling. My memory is very good. And so if you're saying that, and that it becomes what you say to yourself all the time. And I have a book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. And it's kind of a funny title, but the concept there is, what do you say what does your mind say? What is repeating in your mind as you are going through your day, right? When you have subtle time. It's amazing if you start to track that and find out just what goes around in what is there in the quiet part of your mind, the part of the mind, the subconscious or unconscious part of your mind, where these programs are running in the back of your mind over and over. So we're using 60 seconds to Serenity tools to focus on creating the habits of thought, teaming it with a physical thing. And it's the breathing that we're doing now. And I've talked about some stretching and some other things that you do. You want to add in just a little bit. I'm adding these little extra things each time, staying consistent with what we have from the start. And I love this news flash of the good news, and I show this a couple of times, right? Your life just got a whole lot easier by using 60 seconds to Serenity. I show that because a lot of people may not even realize they have the habit of turn on the news. I mean, it might be because they want to see the weather, and the weather is going to come on, and subsequently they end up hearing a bunch of negative news of things that have happened that the media is focusing on, and then that can just charge you down to where you're in a low vibration thinking about those things. Well, now what are we going to do, kind of thing. All because you just wanted to see the weather so that you could figure out what to do, what to wear, and how to commute to work. You know, and get the kids to school, or you know, whether maybe you're doing your exercise in the morning and you go outside. And so it was all about trying to get to the weather. If you vary the habit that you have and do something like shut the TV off, because now you're going to find the weather through some kind of weather app alert, or some other way where you maybe the night before got online to a weather information channel of some kind and avoided all the other stuff that kind of comes with that. What you were intending to do was a good thing, to check the weather so that you could go be more efficient in your day, and all this other kind of garbage came in with it. So if you just vary the way that you're receiving the information, it can totally change your day, right? And we were talking about what we write down with our non-dominant hand, that would include the weather. And I'm looking for the page. I've got several notebooks here. There it is, non-dominant hand. That we're doing this exercise here. This is from yesterday, where I you put your name, you put the day of the week, you put the month, and you put the number on the calendar, and you put the year. So those specific things, nice and slow, print with that non-dominant hand, and I put in the sunrise and sunset, right? And then I put in calm to breezy. I was talking about looking out and seeing the weather from where I am here at this location in the guitar castle here. I can see outside, and so we'll put a note there, and I'll do mine in a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that I got on here and started to do this 60 seconds to Serenity, because yesterday Facebook and the internet were not connecting together, and I had 5 attempts before I actually was able to get on here, but I did it. And that's a little bit of the persistence. There was the point where I felt like, oh, maybe I'm just not supposed to get on there, but I felt like I know that I really want to get on and be able to share and keep consistent all the time, so people can go back and watch this later on and see the commitment, the repetition, the creation of a habit, where you start to make this, instead of the news, you watch 60 Seconds to Serenity with me, Gregg Hammond, because you love all of the tools here. Maybe you love the chimes. These are from Mark down in Big Pine. Here's your chimes. I don't know if you can hear them. Can you hear those chimes? If you can hear those chimes, put in 20 of those little things. I noticed on the phone, if you are watching on your phone and you hit the thumbs up or the heart or the ha-ha, or any of those faces that you hit, if you hit them several times, they'll multiply balloons. I see some going up. Thank you very much. So there's the chimes. Focusing on the breath with the gratitude, right? And hopefully you've taken time to have a few breaths, in gratitude. In my show, I've showed the gratitude stone that I have that came out of the river. Yep, that's how that happened. I see tons of hearts flying across there, and it looked like it was Carol. Thank you very much, Carol, for all of those bubbles coming up like that. It's kind of a cool thing to see those. And I think they're delayed a little bit, but that's very cool. So here's my very flat rock. It fits in my hand, and I selected this one. It's not anything polished, or it's not a gemstone or anything like that. Many people find that they really like a gemstone, or they like something that's a polished stone, and so it's totally up to you, of course, right? This is where you choose things to add into your life. And I use a gratitude stone. I just love the way that this feels between my hands like this. And as I do that, as I push, when I do that, it's now, anytime I feel this, right? When I physically have this feeling between my hands of the hard stone here, I start to think of things. It just triggers, because I've built this out of repetition, just like anything, right? Like getting in shape or learning an instrument, the repetition, reading something and memorizing, writing with your non-dominant hand. All of these things create, the repetition creates the habit, which makes it easier and easier and easier. And that's why 60 Seconds to Serenity is talking about the breath and all of these tools, giving you this, creating this amazing tool, overall tool, that in 60 seconds, you know, this is your thing. Boom. Because you'll have times when you really need it. And it's the coolest thing. So when I physically touch this rock, right, I start to think of things I'm grateful for. And one of the things I've mentioned was getting on the stage and playing at the 930 Club here in Washington, D.C. That was a place that I've watched so many bands play. So many of my favorite musicians and bands have come there, and I thought one day I'm going to play there. And then I'd used some other tools, which I'll talk about, focusing with photographs and things like that, and tying in the 60 Seconds to Serenity breathing along with the gratitude. And next thing I know, I was playing on the stage at 9:30, and I say next thing you know because it did happen very fast. And then I thought, well, that was cool. I'd like to do it again. And then I got to do it again in an even better way, and thrilling. It was amazing, and I learned stuff every time that I do something like that. It pushes me. It challenges me. There are times when I feel the fear of doing something like that, to where I think, you know, I could just sit this one out. Maybe not. And whenever it's at that point, I realize I need to use my 60 Seconds to Serenity tools and the other tools together, which eventually I'll get around to sharing those, and push through that challenge. And I'm going to tie that in with some more stuff. There's so many cool things to share, but I'm trying to just do a little bit at a time so that it's not too overwhelming. So the physical touching of this stone connects me to those things that I'm grateful for. And one of those highlights for me is playing on the 930 Club stage a couple of different times for totally different audience each time, but a little bit different music. And another one is that I got to play Dweezil Zappa and jam with him for the week, and then get on stage and do an original composition with some incredible musicians. That feeling, that was a adrenaline charge, an adrenaline rush, to be able to do that. And so I'll think back to that. That's one of those amazing, powerful memories that I tie with my 60 Seconds to Serenity, which then I get with, I get the permagrin, right, as I'm thinking about it. And it's funny, I have caught myself feeling like a smile that's so big at times that it's like, you can't even shut it down, right? And that's where the keep smiling part comes in, as you tie in your gratitude, memories, things that emotionally make you feel so good, tying that in with your breath. And the reason we're tying it together like that, just the explanation of why, is because you're always breathing. And right, we're doing these focus breaths. We're in with where we take in long, long breaths and then let it out slowly, no hurry. You're allowing your ability to focus on 60 seconds of time, take things slower. And if you do that, one, it expands your energy field in a way. As you're focusing on these things, you're becoming very strong, and your energy field expands out, and it's when you're doing this with a good vibration, you're expanding love out from yourself, and very positive. And that's how you affect yourself so that you can become the change that you want to see in the world. One of my favorite quotes. And then that ties into our individual commitment to a group effort, right? That's how you work as a team member. That's how you become very strong as a team member, is to come in with a very strong you, right? A strong me makes the community better. Everywhere I go and everything I do makes the world a better place for me and for you. Everywhere I go and everything I do makes the world a better place for me and for you. It's always starting with me so that I'm expanding out for myself. And you know, remember, force field. Got a force field from when kids use that a lot. Got a force field, and that was one of those things that the concept of like, you can't come inside of this bubble. And it's on a vibrational level where you're making a force field or expanding your energy in a very peaceful and loving way. And peaceful and loving, global jam for peace. These magnets can go right on your refrigerator or somewhere cool. And if you would like one, I have the ability to send you one. And in addition, the sticker, which I'm getting better at doing the reverse in the mirror, right? This camera, so that you can read things. I have to reverse the camera and be aware of which way I'm moving. So I remember I had mentioned at another one of these 60 Seconds to Serenity that I was thinking to myself and saying I'd really like to play a little guitar. And you got to be careful. This is one of those things where you want to think about, what are you saying, right? Because I thought to myself, I'd like to play a little guitar. And did I think about what I was saying? That kind of statement, I would like to play a little guitar for the 60 Seconds to Serenity. Well, nobody will hear it if I play a little guitar like this. It's just too little. I should have adjusted one small thing, right? If I had just remembered not to say little guitar, it would have probably been more effective to say, I'd like to play some guitar. So it won't be today. I'm gonna play the guitar, but I will, because all I have right now is this little guitar, and so I could play a little guitar for you. But then you probably wouldn't hear it. And it's probably better that you hear some chimes. So, thinking about making those small adjustments of what you say makes a real difference, and you're working on trying to observe yourself. What do you say to yourself when you talk to yourself, right? When you're thinking, and I say talk to yourself, but it's really when you're thinking, when your mind is running. Are you aware of what's going there? Is it a very powerful self-confidence statements that you're saying? Little reminder that there are some awesome groups, Positive People Army community on Facebook, the Global Jam for Peace page, the Global Jam for Peace Ambassadors group. If you want to be an ambassador for the Global Jam and help us share the positive and peaceful love vibe, using the universal language of music to unite the entire world, we are doing recurring global concerts. And you can find out more information about the past, what's happened in the past and coming up in the future. And you can practice now. Your now is when you practice to prepare for the future. And you can focus on what's happening right now, your ability to practice right now, and know that you'll be better in the future. And so when you look back on the past, you'll say, wow, I practiced, and now I'm better, and now I'm able to participate in a global jam for peace. And the idea is that anybody can play any instrument they want. It's a matter of practice. It's also good to have a good teacher.